Welcome to the Crypto Traders Podcast, simplifying cryptocurrency for traders and investors around the world. Subscribe for interviews with developers, market updates, and a professional look at the future of money. You've come to trust Matthew and Kurt to filter out the noise across social media. Now you can listen on the go. Without further ado, here's the Crypto Traders Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Crypto Traders Podcast. I am Kurt Wooker Jr. here with Matthew John and our guest Luke Mulks from Bat and Brave. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I apologize. I should let everybody know we tried to have Luke on about a month ago, and I ended up right in the middle of a bout of pneumonia and was out for 3 weeks, which is why our podcasts were slow during the holidays. And then we had to have all of our Comcast. I had Comcast replace all the wires on my entire house so we could get back. We did it all for Luke, and we have Luke back to discuss everything going on in the Bat and Brave ecosystem, which is one of the coins that we picked long term. Gosh, I think we were talking about it in 2017 before anybody else. And we're really excited. We're Bat fans, and we're excited to learn about everything going on. Luke, they've got to have you working 18 hours a day every day, right?
It's nonstop, but it's a labor of love kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you're also active on crypto Twitter quite a bit. Actually, so is Brendan, the CEO. He is CEO, right?
Yeah. CEO and co-founder.
Yeah, famous for all of his tech contributions around the universe. But one thing I noticed recently was that there was a lot of Bitcoin maximalists kind of jumping down Bat's throat, and I think they were reaching out to you personally too, saying like, hey, when Lightning, Bat's this worthless token, and why didn't you guys just go with Bitcoin, and blah blah blah, which I think the answer is clear why you would not have gone with Bitcoin starting a year and a half ago. But can we start by saying, like, what are your thoughts on like Lightning integration, that kind of stuff? Is that something that Bat would even conceivably work toward, or Brave?
I mean, I think that right now, we're obviously like focused on getting our own token up there and running, and we made a conscious decision to kind of go the way that we did for a variety of reasons. I mean, it's really cool seeing what Lightning Network's doing. I think there's a lot of potential there, but for us, it's almost like, we got to keep our eye on the prize with this and get this is stood up as much as possible, and that's what we've been doing. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, the Bitcoin maximalists like to jump on us, and I understand why. And I think that all in all, though, like we're all closer together than farther apart, even though we all don't necessarily agree on the path forward all the time.
Right. No, I agree. It's funny because I have this conversation. I keep getting more and more active on crypto Twitter, trying to be a positive influence, being like, guys, we disagree on like the order of the numbers in the cloud, but we're all like first cousins.
Exactly. I mean, and we can all learn from each other in a lot of different ways, and the tribal stuff is just part of the game, and it's how it goes. But as long as we keep delivering, and that's what we've been doing, then more and more people see that there's stuff to learn here, and I don't know, you can put Bitcoin into our wallet, you can put Ethereum into our wallet, and you can put BAT into our wallet,
Right.
So we're trying to make it accessible and easy for everybody. But that's how it is with the leading edge too, right? Like you got passionate, smart people in there, and that's just comes with the territory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it true that Brave originally launched with Bitcoin?
Yeah. We had a Bitcoin proof of concept that we ran for a year before we moved it over to the BAT. It was from September 2016 to October 2017. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm here, basically, is like I saw when it was about March, they put a request for comment out there for the Brave Payments proof of concept. And that's when I saw it, and I was like, man, this is something. And so, like we learned there too. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with Ethereum that we just couldn't do with Bitcoin, and
Cool. So piggybacking, Ethereum actually announced yesterday that they are going to put a hold on the Constantinople upgrade. I've actually been kind of an Ethereum bear for about a year. I was a old school Ethereum bull. I thought it was a really killer idea, but then I think it's a really complex system, and I think all of these tokens all being on here at the same time, I think Ethereum has its own scaling problem. How committed are you guys to the long-term Ethereum map, or would you guys look to maybe switching to Stellar, or maybe even building your own blockchain that's mined separately? Is that something on the roadmap?
I mean, it's not necessarily on the roadmap, but that said, it's not something that we can't do either, right? Like we would kind of design this to be adaptable if we have to. But I agree. I mean, these are complex things, right? And I think that, in addition to the scaling stuff, there's just a public education thing that has to happen, and this stuff just has to get easier. So like, I think that it's a natural progression too. You're going to start seeing things become more accessible, more easy to use. It has to, otherwise it's just not going to work. And we're kind of in this weird, in my opinion, right? Like we're kind of in this phase right now where it was a rough year last year for anybody that wasn't serious in this field. And, now it's like, okay, like whoever's still standing is still here. And that's a wake up call that you got to make stuff easier or you're not going to be here next year.
Right. Absolutely. It's a difficult concept. I think a lot of people assumed like, hey man, Bitcoin's going to work. And then, no, Ethereum's going to work. And I think it's just a lot of like, man, this stuff really is actually all beta software, isn't it?
Well, and it blew up really fast. And I mean, and you even see it now too, where you got a lot of Bitcoin guys that are like, pushing different variations that, in the past they might have been way more, way against that. So, it just comes with the territory, and this stuff's still all relatively new. But I mean, if you look at though, like where things are happening, I think that like, the cryptocurrency part it's there, it's going to be there. But I think that like, if you look at like regulation wise, and like, and you've got legal and state, the federal governments and regulators looking at blockchain and making laws around it. And, it's here to stay. And, it's all going to be all about getting it in the hands of the people and making it easy to use, just like email and all these other technologies were.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving back to like Brave and Bat specifically, you guys updated to a Chromium base. So I think there was a pretty big overhaul of Brave.
Oh yeah.
How did that go? Was it pretty smooth, or why was it decided to go that direction, and how did that all play out?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it was a ton of work from the team. Like, you talk about late hours, right? Like we had people working around the clock. I mean, the main reasons why we wanted to do it is, you kind of, over time, you come to a point where, if you want things to be mainstreamable, you gotta listen to the mainstream, right? And we've gone and we hear feedback from all these different areas, GitHub, crypto Twitter, obviously, and then like but in person too, right? And you do enough of studying and you do enough listening to the people. And the number one complaint I would get most often with our old desktop browser was, I would love to make Brave my daily driver, but I can't bring my extensions over, or things like that. And then also, for us to be competitive, we want to make sure that we allow for creature features, and then we bake privacy into the equation in a way that's not done before. So we moved everything over to the Chromium front end, because before we had an Electron-based fork that we made into our own thing to live up to the security upgrades. And so we moved things over to the Chromium fork, and that was a lot of work, but it gives us a lot more room to, let people use extensions, give them, dark mode, do a lot of stuff that people have been asking for. And it makes it so that we want to make it so that can get in the hands of developers. We've got to give them a foundation to work from. And that's one of those things that helps drive us to that point. But there's a lot of learning, right? Like one thing you really learn a lot about when you get into the guts of the front end is just how many times the browser calls Google, and you obviously have to offset that. And so, you put heads on this stuff, but realistically, right, like every time, I mean, the team, our engineering team, like our CTO and everybody on our security team has really done a stellar work on keeping things up to date with the latest Chrome releases, and for security reasons and other reasons, obviously. But this helps us to make that easier as well. And so, you're going to get a lot of, we did a blog post too. This new browser is like 22% faster than our old one did. And, so it's just all about kind of getting us to that next phase of like, okay, we really want this to be a mainstream thing. We can go out and market this desktop browser. And, in this short amount of time, it's like less than a year, I think, that these guys put into this hugely complex process.
Yeah.
And despite that, we still are making progress on other fronts too. I mean, which I'm sure we'll dive into in this interview. But yeah, that's kind of the emphasis around why, and you got to have the right tools and you got to have the right vehicle to take on what we're taking on.
Absolutely. No, it's amazing going from I think I've been using Brave for, I think it's been over a year now. Mm-hmm. And it was super quirky. I liked it. It was mostly good, and some things great, that it was worth it to kind of be that, I mean, I'm a Bitcoiner too, so I'm used to well, this is weird, but but it's consistently been more and more I prefer to use Brave as I've moved on. So it's
that's awesome. That's great to
big
hear.
ups.
Yeah.
Kudos to everybody there.
That's exactly what we're going for. It's got to not just do what Chrome and other browsers do. It's got to be better than that. Right. And that's where we're headed. I think we're on a really good track there.
For sure.
What is the monthly active users now using Brave?
Yeah, we just made an announcement. I think it was a week before last. We broke 5.5 million monthly active users. Nice. So, I mean, that's the other thing too, right? So not only did we switch over to this new front end, but if you look a year ago, we broke 1 million monthly active users, and so that's a pretty huge clip as far as growth goes for 12 months. And
especially during a bear market.
All right. Yeah, you guys are doing 5x growth when the market as a whole took an 85% contraction.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a result of just the team working really hard and us trying to, the bat's definitely a driving force here, but we got to deliver a good product. If you don't deliver a good product, you're done.
Right. And speaking of which, about a month ago now, HTC announced that Brave was going to be the default browser on the Exodus. Yeah. Was that something, did they work in collaboration with you guys, or was it kind of a surprise to you? I know sometimes you get a cavalier developer at a place I'm going to make the decision.
Yeah, our team worked with theirs. I mean, there's not a ton I can say at the moment, but it was a collaborative thing. I mean, and we're really excited about it. I think Brendan too, he commented on it on Twitter. And I mean, it's so cool to see to see that happening so quickly. I mean, if you look at the handset space, it takes a long time to move things. Yeah. It's just another signal. The blockchain stuff's here to stay when you've got huge manufacturers that are willing to kind of risk time and energy and resources into developing stuff that will make this work for the mainstream, which is no small task. I mean, all this tricky up and getting things going.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fascinating to see that happen to where, a year ago, it's that's never going to end up being a thing. And now we've had HTC, I mean, they're what, second or third biggest phone manufacturer in the world. Yeah. Just actively taking on something that's, essentially a cryptocurrency product. And then we saw it in Venezuela, this Crypt phone with Dash and stuff too. So there's more and more all right, I guess our phone needs crypto stuff built into it now. So.
Well, it's near and dear to my heart, man. The first Android phone I had was a HTC Aris, so it was it was early days. I mean, so it's kind of cool to see it come full circle to that. And for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you look at, what are we doing with crypto here, right? We're kind of turning this into a new wallet, and that mobile device is kind of the heart of all of that. And there's, if you imagine what you could do with, Samsung was playing around with NFC and things like that. You could see some pretty cool stuff happening with crypto with that, and direct peer-to-peer and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So maybe I'll let Matt go into bat ads. We've been talking about being an early Brave advertiser, but yeah, Matt, I think you wanted to ask a couple of questions about bat ads.
Yeah, this is something we're really excited to try, and as a community, as a business, and kind of show people what it's all about. Something I did have a question on is, are we able to pay with BAT for the ad space?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so we just actually yesterday launched our first public preview of Brave ads on our developer channel. And yeah, I mean, to answer the question concisely, right? Like you will have the option to pay with that, or you'll have the option to pay with your regional fiat. The thing it's a similar thing to with our Brave publishers and Brave rewards setup, where like you're going to have a lot of leading edge folks that are comfortable with crypto, that want to see crypto be like this main thing here, but you also have to like create it for the masses too. So with Brave publishers, we made it so that if you're a publisher, you don't have to deal with crypto if it's all like looking at a wall of hieroglyphs, or but if you want to be in the crypto space and use crypto, we make that option. So a similar thing will happen with advertising as well. You're going to have a bad option, and you're going to have like a USD or other fiat currency option. And so we're rolling it out to 5 different regions at first: the U.S., the U.K., Canada, and France and Germany. And so there's a bunch of reasons why. I mean, like those are obviously strong markets for us. We have partnerships in those areas, and it makes it. We have to train these machine learning models and use certain languages to kind of get our foot on the ground there. And so it's a pretty. We're pretty excited about it.
Is this only going to be at first for crypto-friendly businesses, or are you going to open it up to all kinds?
Yeah, all kinds. I mean, I've been spending the past year working with the ad industry to kind of keep them educated. I'm on a subcommittee for the ICOM blockchain and technology and advertising space, and we just actually joined the Ad Ledger Consortium in December, which has the 4 biggest ad holding companies on the planet, and so there's a lot of interest there too. But on that note too, I even put this on Twitter last night. Like one of the advantages we have in this space is being able to give crypto projects a place to advertise, whether they're whether it's they have their own token or blockchain application, or it's podcasters, anybody, like, because if you look at what Google and Facebook did, and other companies too, but those two own the almost 92% of every ad dollar goes through Google and Facebook in some way, and right. For them to just outright ban crypto projects or crypto related projects, it's silly to me. I mean, like, and one advantage we have in this space, especially as we have so many users now, like, is to help spread awareness for other projects. And so what we're doing right now is, if you have a crypto project or your crypto related project or whatever, like, we're in a test and learn phase with the ad platform. So we'll basically give you a month of free advertising if you commit to doing 3 with us and testing and learning with us through this process.
Yeah, I think that's
awesome.
A really good idea. That's been one of our biggest struggles. We're not an ICO. We don't have our own token or blockchain. We are a cryptocurrency educational community, but we can't do advertising on Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We can't even do email marketing because MailChimp banned our account for talking about crypto.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I saw that with Evan Van Ness was talking about that too a while ago with the week in Ethereum, and it was like, really, like, they're really trying to make life hard. I mean, we actually switched our entire email system from MailChimp to SendGrid because for that very reason. Because even though we weren't getting hassled at the time, it was one of those things where, like, you got to kind of keep in mind, where you're putting your dollars and who you're supporting. And if companies are making these decisions and assuming everybody's some scammy ICO, then, that's really kind of hampering innovation. And we want to really support innovation for more.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big struggle, especially, and it's funny, we ended up having conversations with some of these, like, Google and Facebook and everything, and being like, hey, like, we want to be an ally in what you're doing. Like, we call out scammers, like, we call them by name. We explain to people, why most ICOs are terrible and all this stuff. And they're just like, nope, you're out. Like, we're just not even going to have that conversation. It's like, well, why? We're on, like, we're a legitimate business. Here's who we are here. Like, and they're just like, no, all you crypto people are terrible. And
it's crazy. I mean, like, we saw some of this too with Slack last year, or maybe it was the year before last, like right after we did our token sale. But, like, we were dealing with scammers in there, people losing money, and it's just kind of a cold shoulder. I mean, but the interesting thing too is, I gave a talk at Google, I think it was the month before last, and Brendan's talked at Facebook too, and there are really strong crypto groups within these places, and they're just so huge. The organization, your Facebook at the time, I think there were like 26,000 employees, and they had a crypto group of over 2,000 people, and these are people that, like, are enthusiasts, right? Like, and you can have conversations
about tech people.
yeah, exactly. That's that's the thing too, right? Like, this is tech, right? Like, you would think that, and it's an exciting time for this. You would think that they would be embracing it a little more, but it just shows you how kind of threatened the business model is too. I mean,
Sure.
you know, people give us crap for looking centralized, and look at these guys; these are the kings of centralization. You know, like.
Right. Right, you took 10 steps, you know, the other direction, and you know, people are mad you didn't take 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you know, there's this other. It's a double-edged thing because, you know, like, we obviously want to be as decentralized as possible, but at the same time, I mean, when you're looking at these numbers like 5.5 million and trying to get that mainstream, we have to be compliant too. And so it's a balancing act. It's just like everything else, you know, like the space is new, the regulatory landscape is still kind of getting its legs. Like, you show these people probably never thought they would be dealing with crypto either. You know?
Sure, right. No, absolutely.
They're like probably just as scrambling as everyone else is, you know?
Sure.
Now,
well, yeah, nothing was faster than crypto. What do you got, Matt?
I have a question on how exactly the ads platform is going to work, because on Facebook, it's really sophisticated where they're collecting everybody's data, and then you could pick your demographics and stuff. How is that going to work on Brave?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. So, like, we're going to eventually get things like really sophisticated, but, you know, we obviously have a lot of concerns that we have to deal with that Facebook and Google don't necessarily have to deal with. You know, like, privacy and anonymity is like a really big one of them. And so the other reason too that we are a little bit different is we're changing the way that ads are served. So in Google and Facebook, you know, you're on your phone, you're looking at a web page, and you know, your data is leaking to servers. The decisions are happening off your device. We're putting the decisions local to the device. And so we're actually putting a server on the device to match ads and then call them to the device. So what we have to do is initially things are going to be very contextual. So you'll be able to map to categories that are content categories, basically. So like sports, fishing, you know, whatever. And then as we have to put it out there, get people opting in, and then we're building up behavioral segmentation too. So people we'll put things out there like rewards surveys where people can self-identify, you know, if they want to, and get tokens, and we'll build up our models to be more behavioral. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you get something very similar to what you're used to. We just have to kind of crawl, walk, run to get there. And so and get there using like this zero knowledge attribution model. And so, you know, I'm confident we'll get there. It's just a matter of kind of like throwing things out there, getting the data back, and then making sure that we're not like only having one user in Montana and then saying that we have a anonymous product, you know, like.
Right.
So is it going to be like a pop-up on your phone that you get to say, yes, I want to view this?
Yeah. So, if you're a new user, when you come in and onboard with Brave, it'll be a part of the onboarding process. So you'll get a prompt to say, you know, you want to opt into Brave Rewards and Brave Ads, and, you know, you click that, it gets you going. If you're an existing user, we're going to put some messaging in there to say, like, look, we have this new thing available. If anybody was using Android, I think it was in the end of November, we actually did a test where we pushed a notification with an update to users that it gave a link to our 22% faster article, and we wanted to get a good read on like what the level of engagement was. It was actually really high, which was a pretty good indicator. You know, when we're looking at something like an informative article compared to something where you're going to get rewarded, and we see a high engagement rate, it gives us, you know, a good feeling. So yeah, you'll see a push notification with an offer just as you browse. You know, you'll be browsing, and the browser is kind of the model's learning from when you browse, when the opportunity is right, you're going to see an offer, and if you engage with the offer, you get a full tab to see an ad and directly engage with the brand. And so that's kind of one of the value propositions we have for advertisers, is that, like, you know, we're basically putting the building blocks out there, and we're giving you an opportunity to directly engage without any intermediaries, and get data directly from the users that can supply data. You know, they're just consenting to giving it to you. It's the main difference there.
Sure.
Yeah. I think it's a really good idea.
I'm curious, like, you know, there are other coins that want to compete with BAT, obviously, like, you know, AdX or whatever, which, you know, I haven't heard anything from them in about 9 months, but are there, is there, outside of like the ecosystem that you've built, like, I really think you do kind of need to do both. You need to kind of be in control of the browser to make the coin work. Do you feel like there's actual competition out there for BAT right now, or is it just kind of like, we pulled away from the pack and we're just...
I think those are kind of like what's it called, the extraordinary times, right? Like where like you look at the way that traditional competition works and in traditional business models, and there is more of a competitive landscape. I think right now though the conditions are such that you've got Google and Facebook, and they eat up the ad market, and then they're also at the same time cutting more and more into the content market. And so things that might have been traditionally competitive are less competitive. And from our perspective, nobody is touching the privacy issue the way that we are. And so if we can get that right, and then we can get other projects that are already have a foot in the door in the ad industry and have a blockchain presence in that space to use us as a channel, like we're all for it. So I think there's more, it's more of like a friend than enemy kind of thing at the moment. But I think that too, everyone's trying to figure out the best ways to get this stuff functional. And I think that there are some hurdles. If you're doing a blockchain project and it's ad related, there are some major privacy hurdles that you have to wrestle with when you're talking about immutable data and blockchains and stuff. You have to be able to people have a right to be forgotten, right? And so you have to make sure that you're not signing anything that you can't pull back if somebody wants to. So like there's a lot of care, and that stuff came right in the middle of the ICO craze. So like there's probably a lot of scrambling going on. I mean, from our end, we were kind of in a good position because we're just not collecting the data to begin with. But I don't know. It's an interesting time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So speaking of some of that, like the SEC seems like they're out to put the kibosh on as many coins and groups and everything as they can. Outright scammers, these terrible ICOs, and even XRP is I don't know if it's number 2 or number 3 today on CoinMarketCap, but like a major project. They're under federal prosecution for being an illegal securities offering, like as its base asset. How is the BAT Brave? Like, are you guys like proactively like having a relationship with the SEC to explain like, hey, we're a legitimate business, our ICO is legitimate, all this stuff, or what's how do you guys pursue that?
I mean, it's kind of interesting in our case because, our token sale happened in May of 2017. And at the time, there was no strong opinion or guidance, right? Like, and we have legal counsel and, and accounting and, help. And you listen to the experts and you try and guide forward. And one of the great things about Brendan and, our chief business officer and the team is they're really smart people. Like, and they can get in a room with a bunch of people, take advice, and then use their own kind of will and brain power to kind of drive this stuff forward. And so I think that from our perspective, there wasn't a ton of regulatory opinions out there. That said, we were very careful early on to really prove utility fast. And within 6 months of us launching our token sale, we had the token in the browser and with a significant amount of users utilizing it. And I think that the key thing here is and it's like what the SEC said, it's like a Howey test. If you have utility, then you're a utility token. If you're out there and your CEO shilling the project on Twitter to fiddle with the price, then they should go after that, in my opinion. I mean, Brennan's very careful and very out there with we're not speculating and we're just heads down building. I mean, so it's kind of a weird territory right now, but as long as we keep delivering on the product and executing and serving up what we aim to do with the white paper, then we are doing what we said we would do. And there's not a lot of room to say this doesn't walk like a duck.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a question going back to the ads and kind of how it's going to work. A lot of people ask, what is a realistic amount of BAT we could earn for opting in for these ads, and kind of how's that process going to work? So if I click view ad, afterwards, am I going to get a micro payment of BAT deposited in my account?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, we're trying to make this so that, what we're requiring with the ad platform or for ads to work in the system is a user's consent, right? So the user makes a one-time opt-in. And so from our perspective, they need to be rewarded for their attention. So the way that we're setting it up is that when the user is browsing, they'll see a notification, and right there, you're going to get some BAT for that, and then we're going to set markers in, and this all isn't going to be implemented with the first run. Obviously, we have to kind of iterate, and we're putting it in smart and in pieces at a time, right? But ideally, what you'll have is a set of events that are attention based. where you'll get rewards for those. And then we'll also bake in features where you can, self profile or do other things and get rewarded for it. Like one good example that Brian Brown uses on our team is, you go see a BMW ad, right? Like, and you can get 5 BAT for opening the hood, or 20 BAT for opening the trunk, or, if you want to take a test drive, you get 100 BAT or 1,000 BAT or something like that, And so what you really want to do is get the fundamentals right, give people a reward, show them that opt-in has a high value, and also show the advertisers that, like, when you put $1 or, however many of BAT into our system, you're going to get your ad in front of somebody that says that they want to see ads. And that's a huge, huge confidence builder. You want certainty in these situations, and the ad business is very uncertain. And that's why you see 1,000 ads a day,
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Great idea. So is this going to be something that is, once we receive our micropayment of BAT, is it locked in the browser, or could we take it off the browser if we wanted?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. So there's going to be some process, right? Like, obviously, fraud is always an issue with this stuff, and like it's been something we've had to learn a lot about internally with our process through our grants and things like that. You're going to see a two-way wallet integration where you can pull the wallet out. There will be some KYC process involved if you're trying to convert it to fiat, because for obvious reasons, we have to comply with AML. Regulations and all things like that. But yeah, so you will be able to take BAT out. It's something that we're iterating to, right? Like, and you do these things in pieces, and like, first off, we have to prove, that, you see an ad, you get attribution with the token, and you can generate a report for an advertiser and not violate any of the Kool-Aid that you've been putting out there around privacy. So yeah, so to answer the question, yeah, you'll be able to convert it. The other thing we want to do is make it so you can keep it in the system too, like, right. and deliver on the anonymity promises that we made, as much as we can.
So back into that, you were talking about, the conversion to fiat and all of that, which I think has been a big issue for cryptocurrency adoption, is people don't see the volatility as a feature, rather they see it as a nightmare. So, traditionally you guys were using Uphold. You were one of the first coins to go that direction. But now you're on Coinbase. So. Yes. Which I think is, it's like the gateway exchange for everybody in the cryptosphere. Has that changed anything about your, have you seen an uptick based on the Coinbase listing? And also, you mentioned KYC AML. I feel like if somebody's going to cash out their fiat, couldn't they just do their KYC AML through Uphold or Coinbase?
Yeah, no, and that's kind of how it's done too, right? Like, yeah, and so we don't want to hold the data, right? Like, and right. So we have these trusted partners that can do that directly with the user. That's ideally what we want to be doing. And yeah, like, to answer the question about Coinbase, it's been huge for us, right? Like, it took there was, I kind of oversee our BAT community team, and the running meme in there for a long time was win Coinbase, and like, sure. It was one of those things where, like, finally it's there, and then, of course, within a couple of weeks, everyone's saying, oh, I wish we wouldn't have done that or whatever. And, it's just the nature of the beast. But like, realistically, it's like getting put on the menu at McDonald's or something, right. like that's where the masses are. And like, when you looked at what the boom was last year, like when everyone was reading Grandma's Got Bitcoin articles, like, those grandmas are going to Coinbase, right? Like, right. And Uphold has made progress too, and we love Uphold too. It's just you want to get this in front of as many people as possible. Coinbase is a fantastic vehicle for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
When did you guys actually know you were going to get on Coinbase? Because I made a video about this December 14th, 2017, saying BAT is going to be one of the next ones on Coinbase. Here's why.
Yeah, I can tell you it definitely was not in December of 2017. Like, it very, like, everybody was, we knew a little bit, but we didn't know a ton. And, they leave you wondering, when things are going to happen. I mean, like, I can't really say a ton, obviously, but like, it was something where, they announced in July that they're looking into these, 5 or 6 projects, and then even though they were looking into that, they still went out and listed a bunch of others too. So right. Like, they're being smart. I think you don't want to make it so that there's a playbook out there for obvious reasons, and you still want to be transparent with the public as much as you can. So yeah, I mean, to answer the question, it wasn't December 2017, and yeah, that's all I'm really gonna say about it.
Sure. Yeah, the insider information.
Well, it's just like there are agreements and things with
absolutely,
etc.
So I knew before Bat knew. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, maybe it was our idea.
So, there are a lot of invisible hands, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the market speaks, right? So, interesting. So, moving to Brave, what are you guys most excited about? Like, we saw a lot of things in 2018. We saw the Tor integration and all these different things, which I think, your average normie is like, oh, I've got Tor. Like, maybe they don't even know if they're using it or not, that kind of thing. But 2019, like, how different do you want Brave to be at the end of 2019 than it is today?
I mean, personally, right? Like, I want to see the ad platform do really well. It's the last leg of the stool for the token economic model to work. I also want to see, like, and the team's working really hard to get sync working across desktop and mobile. And ideally, you have your wallet as a part of that. So, like, if by the end of the year, we're like, you're able to sync your BAD and your profile across devices anonymously and secure way with privacy by design, then we're doing what we need to do, especially if it's easy. It's got to be easy. And so, like, I think that what you'll see is, like, we'll just continue this path where, where our products are kind of a playground for Web3 protocols and for trying to mainstream this in a way that makes sense and just get parity without having to cost privacy. Sure. I think that's kind of the main goal. And then also, like, we did a blog post, I think a little while ago, about a speed reader option that we're working on for mobile that's going to be really cool. I think, you see a lot of stuff with AMP from Google where you get really fast, clean mobile web view and things like that. But we're doing that with our model, and we're doing it with privacy by design. And so what you get is just a crazy fast experience on mobile, and then being able to do things offline and online and kind of building off of that too, and using some of this technology that we're putting for the ad platform to make other types of recommendations. I think that's going to be really key, and a differentiator for us to lead with is to say, look, you can even get amazing recommendations for things if you don't want to do advertising. Like, these are other options, and then we can put the BAD in those options too, and stuff like Chromecast, like things where, like, browsers aren't just a thing to look at pages anymore. And, like, if we can keep pushing that envelope and build these into platforms, super app types of ecosystems, then that's where we're getting it right, I think.
Sure.
So you're looking to branch. You think BAT's ultimate direction is off of the Brave browser and onto other platforms? That's the goal? Yeah, and that's something we've been vocal about since before the token sale even. I mean, the focus is on Brave, obviously, because one, we want to grow and we are a startup, and two, we also want to stand the ecosystem up in the place where, it'll get the fairest crack of saying, like, look, this is delivering on the goal. And then once we have that set up, we're going to move very aggressively toward an open, secure SDK that we can put into mobile apps and branch into connected TVs and things like that. I think browser extensions, you'll probably see that after some mobile app integrations, but sure. Time will kind of tell. Like, we get questions about the roadmap probably every day, and it's one of those things where, like, our roadmap is to get stuff stood up and to make sense with it, and the faster we do that in Brave, the faster it gets out everywhere else. And we bring other developers, and I think that's the key thing, is that, like, we're an open source company, and we want BAT to be, out there, and we also want to make sure that we don't lose our shirt either, and that we don't set up something where it becomes a vacuum for people to kind of just get BAT and then, dump it or something,
Right.
Yeah, I think I think I tweeted you a while ago about the streaming devices. I'm paying monthly for Hulu, but they're giving me 6-7 ads per episode at least.
Right.
Yeah.
I think BAT can somehow be integrated into that, so you could skip the ads.
I feel you're paying too, by the way. Like, I was one of those guys that was buying, like, an ad-free option and then started seeing ads and things I didn't see before.
Right.
And I spent a couple of hours with their support team too, just going over it, and it was kind of a frustrating process. Right. But I'm sure they'll probably work the kinks out. But yeah, that's an area where, like, paywalls, like subscription services, right? Like we got it. We put a good example out there early with Dow Jones, where we gave 2 years of premium access away for free in the browser. And so I think that what you could end up seeing is something like a Brave Pass, where we've got a set of partners that we're dealing with that want to have the punch through the paywall with BAT and use our ecosystem and platform as a way to do that.
That's a great idea.
You got to do it, man. Like, and I think it removes friction too, right? Like, I don't think that they want to have to make it tough for their users. And so as soon as we can get that as pain-free as possible, then and show them the numbers, right? Like, that's the number one thing. Like, right. Everybody wants to see the reporting, and whether it's advertising or publisher revenue. And, you know, it's a big focus for us right now.
Yeah, that's a great point in overall adoption. People just want to hold. They don't want to spend their crypto, but nobody's going to accept it if they can't see the transactions continuously going up.
Right. Yep, exactly. And it's got to be easy for people too. And, you know, like it's something that we're, you know, it's a tough balance, but we're definitely mindful of that. And, you know, our product design team's really stellar, really thoughtful with this stuff. And I mean, you can see that too, right? Like we started, and even right now, you know, you can claim a back grant in a couple clicks in the browser and without having to copy paste anything. And, you know, you'll see more things like that, but it's a good first step, you know, and we're in a land of first steps right now.
Absolutely.
You mentioned briefly about the roadmap, how everybody's asking about it. So could we clear that up? Because I only see BAT roadmap 1.0 through 2018. Do you guys have something else you're going to release?
Yeah, so the main focus for our product and engineering team and for Brennan too is we need to get the ad platform stood up, and then you'll probably see a roadmap update for the BAT after that. And in the meantime, I mean, I'd encourage anybody that's wanting to track progress, like wanting to genuinely track progress compared to like speculating, right? Like if you're really interested in seeing the day-to-day and seeing us deliver on what we're executing for, then you can just go to GitHub and look, you know, all the code's there, all the progress is there, the milestones are public, and then, you know, give us some patience with the project roadmap. It's one of those things too where, like, you know, our original roadmap, Brennan had talked about doing YouTube support, things like that, but like things happen, right? Like you see a need, and sometimes it's smart to jump in and get people on your side that need help. And that's one of the things we did with YouTube and we don't want to close ourselves off to those opportunities, but we also don't want to keep people in the dark either. So, you know, it's a balance, of course, but like, I would say, like, you know, the go-to, just keep watching what we're doing in GitHub, and when in doubt, ask us questions, even if they're snippy. We're happy to answer them, you know, like.
Sure. Well, where do the not so tech savvy people go? Do you have a Telegram or Discord?
Yeah. The Telegram's I think it's Telegram/BAT project. We're on Reddit. Our subreddit's the BAT project subreddit. Support.brave.com is our support base. Community.brave.com is our community site. So if you have issues with the browser or want to know about things, I'll go to community.brave.com and ask people. And we have a lot of volunteers there. We have staff there. And then, you know, our Twitter accounts, obviously, like that's probably one of the easiest ways to get in touch with us. And you guys know Brennan. He's on Twitter all the time. We're on Twitter all the time. Like we're happy to take questions, and we want people to know.
Very cool. I think it's probably a good spot to wrap up. Is there anything, do you need to give any shout outs or let anybody know what's up while you're here on the greatest show in the cryptosphere?
Yeah. One, thanks for having me. It's amazing. I'm glad that you guys give us a place to communicate with people that have been friendly for a long time. I'd encourage everybody to go to brave.com and check out our developer channel release that includes Brave ads. Give us a test spin. We have info there. We did a blog post yesterday about this. You can go there, check it out, give us feedback. We want it. If you've got a project and you want to advertise, like hit us up. We can make that info available as well. I mean, like, we want to get people using this thing, and, you know, feel free to hit me up on Twitter, whatever, or anywhere.
What about, last thing, what about Brave VPN? Is that still going to be a thing?
It's something we're looking at. We actually have a task force internally that's working on it. And I'm not sure exactly on the timeline. I mean, basically I think it was November, we basically had a coming together moment where we're saying, look, everything's focused on getting the 1.0, getting ads out the door, and VPN's right there. I mean, it's a high demand thing. We're doing it. We're going to roll around with it too.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We always appreciate you coming out. We appreciate the relationship that we all get to, bounce off each other on Twitter and stuff too.
Absolutely.
So cool. So
thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody loving the content out there, please subscribe, check us out at CryptoTradersPro.com. You can subscribe, all over everywhere. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google, Amazon, YouTube, Twitter,
Facebook,
Instagram. Yeah. And then our largest little flagpole gets stuck in over at Facebook. And again, CryptoTradersPro.com can link you to all of that stuff. Thanks for listening to the Crypto Traders podcast. And again, tell your friends, subscribe, and we'll see you folks on the moon, right?
We'll see you on the moon.
Bye, everybody.